The contract sat between them like a wall made of paper. Amara Bennett's hands trembled as she reached for the pen. Not from fear. From exhaustion. From 3 months of watching her 16-year-old brother grow weaker while medical bills swallowed her nursing salary whole. From knowing that if she didn't sign this paper, Tyler might not see spring. Across the glass desk, Elijah Crow sat perfectly still. His face gave nothing away. Pale skin, sharp jawline, dark hair swept back with precision. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her car. His office was a study in emptiness. White walls, minimal furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seattle's gray skyline. No photographs. No personal items. Nothing that suggested a human being worked here. "You understand the terms?" he said. His voice was low, flat. Not unkind but not warm either. "This is a business arrangement. You'll live in my home. Attend public events as needed. Maintain the appearance of marriage. In return, all medical expenses for your brother will be covered. Additionally, you'll receive a monthly allowance and full benefits." Amara nodded, scanning the document one more time. 12 months. 1 year of her life in exchange for Tyler's survival. The math was simple. "I need to be clear," Elijah continued, his gray eyes meeting hers for the first time. "I don't do relationships. I don't do emotion. This marriage serves a practical purpose for both of us. My board believes a married CEO projects stability. You need financial support. We each get what we need, nothing more." She should have felt insulted. Should have walked away from this cold, transactional proposal. But when she closed her eyes, she saw Tyler's face in that hospital bed, his skin too pale, his smile too brave. "When do I move in?" Amara asked, signing her name with firm, clear strokes. Elijah's eyebrows raised a fraction. "Surprise. You're accepting? Just like that? My brother needs help. You're offering it. I'd be a fool to refuse." She set the pen down and looked directly at him. "I'm not a fool, Mr. Crow." "Elijah," he corrected, almost absently. He took the contract, examining her signature. "You can move in this weekend. My assistant will arrange everything. I can arrange my own move. The house is 40 minutes from the city. You'll need transportation. My driver will collect you Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Amara wanted to argue, wanted to insist on maintaining some independence, but practicality won. She had 3 12-hour nursing shifts before Saturday and barely enough gas money to get through them. "Okay," she said simply. "Thank you." Elijah stood, extending his hand. "We have an agreement then." His palm was cool and dry when she shook it. The touch lasted exactly 2 seconds before he pulled away, already turning toward the window. "Dismissed." Amara gathered her coat and purse, this cheap canvas bag that had carried her through nursing school. At the door she paused. "Elijah?" He turned, waiting. "I know this is just business to you, but I want you to know I'm grateful. Really grateful. This money, this chance, it's everything to my brother. So whatever you need from me, I'll do my best. I promise." Something flickered across his face. Discomfort, maybe. Or confusion. He nodded once, curtly, then returned his attention to the window. Amara left, her footsteps echoing through the empty hallways of Crow Technologies. The elevator ride down felt surreal. In 72 hours, she would be Mrs. Elijah Crow. She would live in a mansion with a man who treated marriage like a software update. But what if you had to choose between pride and saving someone you love? What would you do? Drop a comment below and subscribe to find out if Amara's sacrifice leads to something she never expected. Outside, Seattle drizzle misted her face. She pulled out her phone and called Tyler's hospital room. "Mayor?" His voice was weak but eager. "How did it go?" "It's done, Ty. We got it. We got the money." The sound he made was half laugh, half sob. "You're serious? The treatment? Everything?" "Everything. You start at the specialist clinic next week. They're covering all of it." "How? The grant fell through? You said the grant fell through?" Amara looked up at the sleek glass tower behind her, at the life she was about to enter. "I found another way. Don't worry about the details. Just focus on getting better, okay? You're the best sister in the world, you know that? Yeah, well, you're the best brother. So we're even." She blinked back tears, smiling despite everything. "I love you, Ty. Love you too. Hey, Mayor? Whatever you did, whatever it cost, thank you." If only he knew. That night, Amara packed her life into 2 suitcases and 3 cardboard boxes. It didn't amount to much. Clothes, books, the photograph of her and Tyler at his 8th grade graduation, their parents' wedding rings on a chain she wore around her neck. Small things. Portable things. The belongings of someone used to moving, used to adapting. Friday evening, her best friend Nadia came over with pizza and wine. "You're really doing this," Nadia said, watching Amara fold scrubs into a suitcase. "Marrying a stranger for money." "Marrying a stranger so Tyler lives," Amara corrected. "There's a difference." "Is there?" Nadia poured wine into coffee mugs, since Amara had already packed her glasses. "Mayor, this guy is famous for being a hermit. I looked him up. He hasn't been photographed in public in 5 years. His own employees barely see him. What if he's dangerous?" "He's not dangerous. He's just private." "How do you know?" Amara sat back on her heels, considering. "I looked in his eyes. I know that sounds stupid, but I've worked for 6 years. You learn to read people fast. He's not dangerous. He's just lonely. Lonely billionaire seeks wife for tax purposes. Sounds like a horror movie. Sounds like survival." Amara took the mug Nadia offered. "Besides, it's only a year. 12 months, then I walk away with enough money to set Tyler up for college, get us a real apartment, maybe even finish my nurse practitioner degree." Nadia clinked her mug against Amara's. "If he turns out to be a serial killer, I'm going to be so mad at you." "If he's a serial killer, being mad at me will be the least of our problems." They laughed, but Amara felt the weight of tomorrow settling in her chest. She was about to step into a completely unknown life with a man who had made it clear he wanted nothing emotional from her. Just presence. Just appearance. She could do that. She had to. Saturday morning arrived cold and bright. The car that pulled up to her apartment building was sleek and black, the driver professional and silent. He loaded her bags without comment, held the door open, called her Mrs. Crow, like it was already fact. The drive took them out of the city, through suburbs that grew increasingly expensive, finally turning onto a private road that wound through dense evergreen forest. When the trees parted, Amara's breath caught. The mansion was modern and sprawling, all glass and steel and sharp angles, built into the hillside like it grew there naturally. The grounds were perfectly maintained but somehow still felt wild. Untouched. The driver opened her door. "Mr. Crow is in his office. I'll show you to your room." Her room turned out to be a suite larger than her entire apartment. Massive windows overlooked the forest. The bed could have fit 6 people. Everything was white, cream, tasteful, and completely impersonal. Like a hotel. Like a place designed to be passed through, not lived in. Amara set down the photograph of Tyler first on the nightstand. Then she unpacked her clothes into the enormous closet, her few possessions looking lost in all that space. A knock on the door made her turn. The driver stood in the doorway. "Dinner is at 7 in the main dining room, if you wish to join Mr. Crow. If not, I can bring a tray to your room." "I'll join him," Amara said immediately. "Thank you." The driver nodded and left. Amara showered in the bathroom that had more square footage than her old bedroom, changed into simple jeans and a soft red sweater, and went exploring. The house was a maze. Hallways branched in unexpected directions. Rooms sat empty and pristine. She found a library with thousands of books, a gym that looked untouched, a kitchen that could serve 50 but felt hollow. At exactly 7, she made her way to the dining room. A long table stretched beneath modern light fixtures. Place settings for 2 sat at opposite ends. Elijah appeared from a side door, still wearing dark slacks and a pressed shirt, though he'd lost the jacket and tie. He stopped when he saw her. "You came. You invited me." "I offered. Most people prefer their own space." He moved to his seat and she took hers, an ocean of polished wood between them. A woman Amara hadn't met served the meal, grilled salmon, roasted vegetables, a salad that looked like art. Amara ate slowly, aware of the silence filling the room like water. "How is your brother?" Elijah asked suddenly. Amara looked up, surprised. "Better. Knowing treatment is starting helped. His spirits are up." "Good." Silence again. "This is a beautiful home," Amara tried. "It's functional. It's lonely." Elijah's fork paused halfway to his mouth. He set it down carefully. "I prefer solitude. There's a difference between solitude and isolation." His gray eyes fixed on her, unreadable. "Is there?" "Yes." Amara met his gaze steadily. "Solitude is a choice. Isolation is a prison." For a long moment he said nothing. Then he picked up his fork again. "You've had a long day." They finished the meal in silence, but it felt different now. Less empty. More waiting. When the plates were cleared, Elijah stood. "I work late most nights. You won't see me much. Feel free to use any part of the house except the west wing. That's my private office." "Okay." He nodded and turned to leave. Elijah? He paused, not turning. Thank you. For dinner. For everything. It's part of our arrangement. I know. But still. Thank you. His shoulders tensed, then relaxed. He left without responding. Amara returned to her room and stood at the window, looking out at the darkening forest. Somewhere in this vast, cold house was a man who had bought himself a wife like other people bought furniture. Practical. Necessary. Emotionless. But she had seen something in his eyes during that last exchange. Something that looked almost like surprise. She pulled out her phone and texted Tyler. Day 1 in the mansion. It's weird but okay. Love you. His response came immediately. Love you too. Get some rest, Mare. You deserve it. She smiled, set the phone aside, and climbed into the enormous bed. Outside, rain began to fall, pattering against the glass. This was her life now. For 1 year. 12 months. What could possibly change in a year? Amara woke to sunlight flooding through windows she'd forgotten to cover. For a confused moment, she didn't know where she was. Then memory returned. The contract, the mansion, the silent billionaire at the other end of the dinner table. Her phone showed 6:47 a.m. Her body, trained by years of nursing shifts, wouldn't let her sleep past 7 no matter how exhausted she was. She dressed in comfortable clothes, a bright blue hoodie and leggings, and ventured out to explore properly. In daylight the house looked different. Less forbidding. The morning sun warmed the modern lines, made the glass walls feel transparent instead of isolating. The kitchen was her first destination. Restaurant-grade appliances gleamed and used. She opened the refrigerator and found it stocked with basics but nothing fresh, nothing that suggested regular cooking. Meal service probably. Everything pre-made and delivered. Amara made coffee using the intimidating espresso machine, managing to produce something drinkable on the third try. She was standing at the window watching deer move through the trees, when footsteps approached. Elijah appeared in running gear, slightly breathless, a sheen of sweat on his face. He stopped short when he saw her. Morning, Amara said, raising her mug. You're awake. I work hospital hours. Early rising is a hard habit to break. She gestured to the coffee machine. Want some? I figured out how to make it work. I usually just have it black from the pot. That's not coffee, that's punishment. She moved to the machine, recreating her earlier success, and handed him a proper cup. He accepted it with visible uncertainty, took a sip, and something in his expression softened. This is good. Hospital nurses live on good coffee and spite. I learned from the best. The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile but close. I have meetings today, he said, setting the cup down. The car is available if you need to go anywhere. My assistant left her number on the counter in your room for any questions. I have a shift tonight. 11 to 7. Elijah frowned. You're still working? The contract doesn't say I can't. And I like my job. The allowance is supposed to cover your expenses. The allowance is generous. But nursing is what I do. It's who I am. She met his eyes directly. Unless it's a problem? He considered this, then shook his head. No. It's not a problem. Good. Amara smiled. Then I'll see you tomorrow probably. Unless you're a night owl who eats breakfast at midnight. I eat at my desk usually. That's sad. It's efficient. Those aren't the same thing. Elijah studied her for a moment, this woman standing in his kitchen in a bright blue hoodie, challenging his habits with gentle certainty. Then he picked up his coffee and left without another word. Amara spent the day making the enormous house feel slightly less like a museum. She couldn't change much without overstepping, but she brought life to small corners. Fresh flowers in the kitchen. A book left open on the living room couch. Music playing softly from her phone while she made herself lunch. That evening, she changed into her scrubs and headed to work. The hospital felt familiar and comforting after the strangeness of the mansion. Her coworkers welcomed her back from her weekend off, with the usual chaos. 3 car accidents, 2 cardiac events, 1 elderly woman who'd fallen. Amara fell into the rhythm of triage and treatment, losing herself in work that mattered, work that made sense. During her break, she checked on Tyler. He'd been moved to the specialist clinic that morning. Mare, this place is incredible, he said when she video called. They have an entire teen lounge with games and everything. And the doctor said the treatment is going to start tomorrow. Real treatment, not just pain management. That's amazing, Ty. How's married life? His grin was teasing but affectionate. Quiet. The house is huge. Elijah is very private. Is he treating you okay? He's fine. Polite. Distant but not mean. Tyler's expression turned serious. "You'd tell me if something was wrong, right?" "I would. I promise. But honestly, it's okay. Strange, but okay." They talked until her break ended, and then Amara returned to the organized chaos of the ER. Somewhere across the city, in that glass and steel mansion, Elijah was probably still at his desk, eating dinner alone. The thought bothered her more than it should have. She returned to the house just after 8 a.m., exhausted and ready for sleep. But when she entered the kitchen, she found a note on the counter in precise handwriting. "Coffee machine is temperamental. Thanks for showing me the right way." Next to the note sat a check for Tyler's first treatment installment. More money than Amara had seen in one place in her entire life. She picked up the check carefully as if it might dissolve. This was real. This strange arrangement, this cold contract, this distant man. All of it was real, and it was saving her brother's life. Amara made herself breakfast, showered, and climbed into bed. Before sleep took her, she texted Nadia. "Day 2. Still not murdered. Actually kind of okay." Nadia's response came immediately. "Low bar, but I'll take it. Love you." The days developed a rhythm. Amara worked her shifts, slept when she could, explored the house and grounds in between. Elijah appeared and disappeared like a ghost, always polite, always distant, always working. But small things began to change. She started making dinner on her nights off, enough for 2, leaving a covered plate in the refrigerator. It was always gone by morning. He started leaving the coffee machine clean and ready when he knew she'd be home in the morning. She brought fresh flowers every few days, brightening the stark spaces. He stopped disappearing immediately after their occasional brief conversations. They were still strangers. Still bound by contract rather than connection. But they were learning to exist in the same space, like 2 planets in orbit, not touching but aware of each other's gravity. 10 days into the arrangement, Amara came home from an especially brutal shift. A young mother had died despite everything they tried. It happened sometimes in emergency medicine, but it never stopped hurting. She found Elijah in the kitchen at 9 a.m., unusual for him. He looked up when she entered. "Rough night?" he asked. She must have looked as wrecked as she felt. "How did you know?" "You move differently when you're tired." "Heavier." Amara slumped into a chair. "Lost a patient. 28 years old, 2 kids. Brain aneurysm. Nothing we could do." Elijah said nothing, but he moved to the coffee machine and made 2 cups the way she'd taught him. He set one in front of her and sat down across the table with the other. "I'm not good at this," he said finally. "At what?" "Comfort. Conversation. People, things. You're doing fine. I'm sitting here silently while you're upset. Sometimes silent company is exactly what someone needs." Amara wrapped her hands around the warm mug. "Thank you. For the coffee. For not trying to fix it." They sat together as morning light filled the kitchen. Outside, birds sang in the trees. Inside, 2 people who were supposed to be strangers found themselves becoming something else. Something undefined. "Tyler's treatment is going well," Amara said eventually. "The doctors are optimistic." "Good. He wants to meet you." Elijah's expression tightened. "That's not necessary." "I know. But he's curious about the person helping him." "You don't have to if you don't want to. I just thought I'd mention it." "I'll think about it." It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a refusal either. Amara finished her coffee and stood. "I should sleep. Thanks again, Elijah. For listening. Or not listening. Whatever this was." "Amara." She paused at the door. "You're good at what you do. At caring for people. That patient, she had you fighting for her. That matters even when the outcome doesn't change." Something warm bloomed in Amara's chest. "That's the kindest thing anyone said to me in a long time." He looked uncomfortable, like he'd said too much, but he nodded. Amara went to her room and lay down, but sleep didn't come immediately. Instead, she stared at the ceiling, thinking about the man downstairs. The lonely billionaire who noticed how she moved, who made coffee the way she liked it, who offered comfort in his awkward, honest way. Their arrangement was supposed to be simple. Transactional. Emotionless. But nothing about Elijah Crow was simple. And Amara was starting to think that maybe, just maybe, that was a good thing. 3 weeks into their arrangement, Amara established a routine that worked around Elijah's carefully constructed isolation. She worked her nursing shifts, visited Tyler at the clinic, and gradually made the mansion feel less like a showroom and more like a home. The changes were subtle. A throw blanket on the living room couch. Books left on side tables. The scent of actual cooking coming from the kitchen instead of reheated meal service. Elijah noticed. She could tell by the way his gaze would linger on a vase of fresh sunflowers, or how he'd pause in a doorway when music drifted through the house. But he never commented, never objected. Just continued his pattern of appearing and disappearing, present but untouchable. Until the night Amara found him in his office at 2 a.m. She'd come home from her shift to find every light in the West Wing blazing. Concerned, despite his request for privacy, she approached his office door. It stood slightly ajar, and through the gap she could see him hunched over his desk, surrounded by multiple computer screens showing endless lines of code. Amara knocked gently. "Elijah?" He didn't look up. "I said the West Wing was private." "I know. But it's 2 in the morning, and you look like you haven't moved in hours. Important deadline." She pushed the door open wider. His office was as stark as the rest of the house, all function and no warmth. The only personal item was a photograph on the bookshelf, so old and faded she couldn't make out the faces. "When did you last eat?" she asked. "I don't remember." Amara disappeared and returned 10 minutes later with a tray, sandwich, fruit, water, and coffee. She set it on the only clear corner of his desk. "I'm busy," he said, but his eyes flicked to the food. "I noticed." She pulled over a chair and sat down, not leaving. Elijah finally looked at her properly. "What are you doing?" "Sitting." "Why?" "Because you're running yourself into the ground and someone should probably notice." She pulled out her phone and opened a game. "I'm not going to talk or bother you. But I'm staying until you eat something." He stared at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Then, slowly he reached for the sandwich. They sat in silence for 20 minutes. Elijah ate mechanically while typing, pausing occasionally to drink coffee. Amara played her game, present but not demanding. Finally, he pushed back from the desk and rubbed his eyes. "You're stubborn. I'm a nurse. We're all stubborn. It's a job requirement. I don't need caretaking. Everyone needs caretaking sometimes." She stood, collecting the empty dishes. "When is your deadline?" "Thursday." "That's 2 days away. You planning to sleep before then?" "Sleep is inefficient. Sleep is necessary. Your brain needs rest to function properly. Basic biology." Elijah's mouth twitched, that almost smile she'd seen a few times. "Are you always this bossy?" "Only when people are being ridiculous." She headed for the door, then paused. "Elijah? Thank you." "For what?" "For letting me sit with you. I know privacy is important to you." He nodded, already turning back to his screens, but she thought his shoulders looked less tense. The next night, Amara came home to find a note in the kitchen. "Working late again. Don't wait up." She smiled and made dinner anyway, leaving a plate in the fridge with a sticky note that read, "Efficiency doesn't mean starving yourself." At 11 p.m., unable to sleep, she wandered downstairs and found Elijah in the kitchen, eating the dinner she'd made, reading something on his tablet. "Couldn't ignore food twice," he said when he noticed her. "Smart man." She poured herself water and leaned against the counter. "How's the project going?" "Behind schedule. But manageable." "What is it you actually do?" "I know you run a tech company, but what specifically?" Elijah set down his tablet. "We develop security software. Encryption, data protection, that kind of thing. Important work. It keeps people safe. Their information, their privacy. In a digital world, security is everything." There was passion in his voice when he talked about his work. Real feeling, breaking through the careful control. "Is that why you're so private?" Amara asked gently. "Because you know how vulnerable people's information can be?" "Partly." He picked up his fork but didn't eat. "Mostly because privacy means not getting hurt." The honesty caught her off guard. She moved to sit across from him at the kitchen island. "Who hurt you?" Elijah was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "Family. Friends. People I thought I could trust. Turns out money makes everyone a liar eventually." "Not everyone. Most people." "I'm not lying to you." He met her eyes. "I know. That's what's strange." "What is?" "You're here for money. You signed a contract for financial gain. That should make you like everyone else. But you're not." Amara considered this. "I'm here for money, yes. But I'm not here to take from you. I'm here because we made an agreement that helps both of us. There's a difference between accepting help and exploitation." "Is there?" "Yes. Absolutely yes." She reached across the table, not quite touching his hand but close. "Elijah, I don't know who made you think that needing help or accepting kindness is the same as being used. But they were wrong." He looked at her hand, so near his own, like it was something foreign and dangerous. "You should get some sleep. Your shift starts early." "So should you. After I finish this." Amara stood, gathering her glass. At the doorway she turned back. My brother wants to meet you. I know you said you'd think about it. No pressure, but the offer stands. He's at the clinic most days. Why does he want to meet me? Because you saved his life. Because he's grateful. Because he's 16 and curious. She smiled. And because I talk about you sometimes and he wants to see if you're as grumpy as I describe. I'm not grumpy. You're a little grumpy. I'm private. You can be both. After she left, Elijah sat alone in the kitchen, staring at his half-eaten dinner. He thought about the woman upstairs, the one who brought flowers and music and warmth into his carefully controlled world. The one who sat with him at 2 a.m. without demanding conversation. The one who saw his walls and didn't try to tear them down, just waited patiently nearby. He thought about her brother, sick and hopeful, wanting to meet the stranger paying his medical bills. He thought about how his house had started to smell like someone actually lived there. And he thought about how much that terrified him. The next day, Elijah did something he hadn't done in 5 years. He left the office early. He drove to the specialist clinic where Tyler was being treated, parked in the visitor lot, and sat in his car for 10 full minutes, questioning every decision that had led to this moment. Finally, he texted Amara, I'm outside the clinic. If Tyler still wants to meet, I have 30 minutes. Her response came immediately, room 304. Thank you. The clinic was all bright colors and cheerful art, designed to make sick kids feel less afraid. Elijah hated it. Too loud. Too public. Too many people. But he found room 304 and knocked. Come in, a young voice called. Tyler Bennett sat in bed, thin but bright-eyed, wearing a green t-shirt and a grin that reminded Elijah of Amara's smile. The boy's head was bald from treatment, but his energy filled the room. You must be Elijah, Tyler said, gesturing to the chair. Mare said you might come by. I told her you wouldn't, but she said I don't know you as well as she thinks she does. Elijah sat, uncomfortable but committed. Your sister is optimistic. She's stubborn. There's a difference. Tyler's grin widened. I'm Tyler, but you knew that. Thanks for, saving my life and stuff. You're welcome. That's it? Just you're welcome? What else should I say? Tyler laughed, delighted. Mare said you were direct. She didn't say you were this direct. Cool. I like it. Despite himself, Elijah relaxed slightly. How is treatment going? Good. Hard but good. The doctors say if this round works, I might be in remission by summer. Tyler's expression turned serious. I know why you're helping. Mare told me about the arrangement. I think it's weird, but I also think it's kind of great. Great? Yeah. Like you both needed something and you figured out how to help each other. That's smart. And my sister, she's been alone for so long taking care of me, working herself to death. It's nice that someone's taking care of her for once. Elijah shifted uncomfortably. I'm not taking care of her. We have an arrangement. Sure. That's why she talks about you like you're a puzzle she's trying to solve. And why you drove all the way here on a weekday to meet her annoying little brother. You're not annoying. I'm definitely annoying. Mare would confirm. Tyler leaned back against his pillows. Can I ask you something? Okay. Why did you say yes to the marriage thing? You're a billionaire. You could have hired an actress or something, right? Why marry someone real? Elijah considered the question. My assistant suggested it. She said I needed someone genuine, not someone playing a part. Someone who would make the arrangement believable. And is it believable? I don't know. Well, Mare believes in it. She believes in most things. Hope, kindness, second chances. All that stuff that's supposed to be naive but somehow works when she does it. Tyler studied Elijah carefully. I think maybe you needed someone like that. Someone who believes. Before Elijah could respond, the door opened and Amara appeared in her scrubs, clearly on a break from her shift downstairs. She stopped, taking in the scene. You came. I had time, Elijah said, standing. He's been here 20 minutes, Tyler volunteered. We were bonding. We were talking, Elijah corrected. Same thing. Amara's smile was brilliant, genuine, reaching her eyes in a way that made something in Elijah's chest tighten. Thank you. Really? He's easy to talk to, Elijah said, surprising himself. You were right. I'm always right, Amara teased. Ask Tyler. She's almost never right, Tyler said cheerfully. But we let her think she is because she's bossy when she's wrong. They bantered back and forth, this easy sibling rhythm that spoke of years together, of love weathering hardship. Elijah watched, feeling like an anthropologist observing a foreign culture. This was family. This was what connection looked like. He'd forgotten. I should go, he said abruptly. Work? Of course. Amara walked him to the door. In the hallway, she touched his arm gently. Thank you for coming. It means everything to him. To me? He's a good kid. He is. He's been through so much, but he keeps fighting. Keeps hoping. She paused. Kind of like someone else I know. I don't hope. You're here, aren't you? That's hope. Elijah had no response to that. He nodded goodbye and left, walking quickly through the bright corridors back to his car, back to the safety of his controlled world. But all the way home he thought about Tyler's words. My sister believes in most things. Hope, kindness, second chances. And he thought about how Amara had brought those things into his house, into his routine, into the careful isolation he'd built around himself. He thought about how much he wanted to believe in them too. And how absolutely terrifying that was. The morning after Elijah met Tyler, Amara woke to find a note slipped under her bedroom door. His precise handwriting read, Your brother is right. You are stubborn. Coffee is ready. She smiled, tucking the note into her nightstand drawer with the others he'd left over the past weeks. Small communications, brief and practical, but she kept them all anyway. Downstairs the coffee was perfect. Next to the machine sat a bag of her favorite pastries from the bakery 20 minutes away. He must have gone early before she woke. Amara pulled out her phone and texted, Thank you for breakfast. You didn't have to. His response came while she was eating. I know. Wanted to. 2 words that felt like progress. Over the following week, small gestures became their language. Amara would leave books on topics she thought he'd find interesting. Elijah would order her favorite takeout on nights she worked late. She started a herb garden on the kitchen windowsill. He bought her a new stethoscope when he noticed her old one was wearing out. Neither acknowledged what was happening. Neither named the subtle shift from contractual obligation to something warmer. But it was there, growing like the basil and rosemary in the window, quiet but persistent. Thursday evening, Amara was reading in the living room when Elijah appeared, looking uncomfortable. I need to ask you something, he said. She set down her book. Okay. Tyler mentioned you talk about me. I do. Sometimes. When he asks how things are going. What do you say? Amara considered her answer carefully. I tell him you're kind even though you try to hide it. That you're brilliant at your work. That you care about things deeply but don't know how to show it. That you make really good coffee once someone teaches you how. Elijah sat in the chair across from her. That's not accurate. Which part? The kind part. I'm not kind. Kind people don't isolate themselves for 5 years. Kind people don't treat marriage like a business transaction. Kind people do whatever they need to do to protect themselves, Amara said gently. And then sometimes they meet someone who makes them reconsider whether protection is worth loneliness. Is this psychology or optimism? It's observation. She leaned forward. Elijah, you paid for my brother's treatment without hesitation. You let me keep working even though our contract doesn't require it. You drove to meet Tyler because you knew it mattered to him. Those are kind acts. Those are practical acts. They're both. He was quiet, processing. Then, I'm not good at this. At what? Whatever this is becoming. Amara's heart skipped. What do you think it's becoming? I don't know. That's the problem. He met her eyes and she saw real vulnerability there. The arrangement made sense. Clear terms, defined boundaries. But you keep bringing flowers and making dinner and sitting with me at 2 a.m., and nothing makes sense anymore. Does it need to make sense? Everything needs to make sense. Why? Because. He stopped, struggling with words. Because if it doesn't make sense, I can't control it. And if I can't control it, people get hurt. Who told you that? Experience. Amara set her book aside completely and moved to sit on the couch closer to his chair. Can I tell you something about control? He nodded warily. Control is a myth. We pretend we can manage every variable, predict every outcome, but we can't. Life doesn't work that way. People don't work that way. She smiled softly. The only thing we can control is how we respond. Whether we meet uncertainty with fear or with courage. And you think I should choose courage? I think you already have. Coming to meet Tyler, letting me into your space, accepting coffee and pastries without demanding to know why. Those are all acts of courage. Elijah looked at his hands. What if I'm terrible at this? At friendship or whatever we're building? Then you practice. Make mistakes. Try again. What if I hurt you? What if I hurt you? He looked up sharply. You wouldn't. How do you know? Because you're. He gestured vaguely. You're you. And you're you. A person trying his best just like everyone else. Amara reached out and for the first time actually took his hand. His fingers were cool and still against hers. I'm not asking you to change who you are, Elijah. I'm just asking you to consider that maybe isolation isn't the only way to be safe. He looked at their joined hands like they were something miraculous and terrifying. This wasn't part of the arrangement. I know. It complicates things. I know. We should probably maintain boundaries. Probably. Neither of them moved. Neither let go. Tyler's treatment is going really well, Amara said finally. The doctors are talking about early remission. That's good. It's because of you. It's because of medical science. It's because you made medical science accessible. She squeezed his hand gently. You can accept gratitude, you know. It won't kill you. It might. Dramatic. Realistic. Amara laughed, and Elijah's expression softened into something almost resembling a smile. Real and unguarded. There it is, she said. What? That smile you try so hard to hide. He pulled his hand back but gently. I should work. It's 8 p.m. Exactly. Prime working hours. You're impossible. I'm consistent. But he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stood there, hovering between the room and the hallway, between the old isolation and this new, uncertain warmth. Amara? Yes. Thank you. For the pastries. And the herbs. And the books. He paused. And for sitting with me when I worked too late. You're welcome. After he left, Amara sat in the quiet living room, her hands still warm from his touch. Something was changing between them. Something neither had planned for, neither wanted to name, but both were starting to need. That weekend, Elijah did something unprecedented. He suggested they do something together. There's an exhibit at the art museum, he said over Saturday breakfast. Technology and art intersection. I thought, maybe. If you're interested. Amara tried very hard not to show her surprise. I'd love to. It's not. I'm not. He stopped, clearly uncomfortable. This isn't a date. Of course not. It's just two people who happen to live together attending a mutually interesting event. Absolutely. Okay then. 2:00. 2:00. Amara dressed carefully in dark jeans and a deep red blouse, telling herself she wasn't trying to look nice for him, that this was just normal museum attire. Elijah wore black slacks and a charcoal sweater that made his gray eyes look almost silver. He opened the car door for her, awkward but trying, and they drove into the city together. The museum was quiet on a Saturday afternoon. They wandered through exhibits, Elijah explaining the technology behind interactive installations, Amara pointing out artistic choices he'd overlooked. You see everything as code, she observed. You see everything as human experience. Maybe we both need to see it both ways. They stood in front of a digital sculpture that responded to movement, light shifting and changing as people passed. Elijah watched the patterns, analyzing. Amara watched the people, noting their delight. It's beautiful, she said. It's elegant code. It's both. She glanced at him. You're allowed to find things beautiful without understanding exactly why. That sounds inefficient. That sounds human. They grabbed coffee afterward, sitting in a small cafe near the museum. Amara talked about Tyler's progress, his growing strength, his plans for returning to school. Elijah listened, really listened, asking questions that showed he cared about details. He wants to study computer science, Amara said. Says he wants to be like the guy who saved his life. Elijah looked uncomfortable. I didn't save his life. Doctors did. You made it possible. That's not nothing. It was part of our arrangement. It was part of your kindness. We're back to that word again. Because it's true. Elijah stirred his coffee, watching the liquid swirl. When I was Tyler's age, I was already working on my first major code project. Trying to prove I was worth something. To who? Everyone. My parents mostly. They had expectations. Success, achievement, perfection. He set down his spoon. I met them all. Built the company, made the money, achieved everything they wanted. And you know what I got? Amara waited. A call every few months asking for investments in their latest scheme. No interest in me. Just what I could provide. That's horrible. That's reality. He met her eyes. Everyone wants something. That's why isolation made sense. Can't be used if no one gets close. You're letting me close. I know. Against my better judgment. Maybe your judgment could use some adjusting. He almost smiled. Maybe. They drove home as evening settled over the city. Amara watched the lights blur past, thinking about the lonely boy who'd grown into a lonely man, building walls so high he forgot what the world looked like without them. But can someone who's been alone for so long really let someone in? Comment below what you think Elijah should do next, and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter. Thank you for today, she said as they pulled into the driveway. I had fun. It was tolerable, Elijah said, but his tone was warm. High praise. For me it is. Inside, they moved to the kitchen by mutual unspoken agreement. Amara started pulling out ingredients for dinner while Elijah made tea, their movements comfortable and synchronized in a way that felt practiced despite being new. Can I help? He asked. You can chop vegetables. I've never chopped vegetables. Then you can learn. She taught him how to properly use a knife, laughing when his precise, careful cuts resulted in perfectly uniform pieces. Of course you're good at this, she said. It's geometry. Basic shapes. It's cooking. Basic sustenance. They prepared dinner together, the kitchen filling with warmth and the smell of garlic and herbs. When they sat down to eat, it felt natural. Right. This is good, Elijah said, surprised. Homemade usually is. I meant this. Eating together. Not alone. Amara's heart swelled. Yeah, it is good. After dinner, they ended up in the living room again. Elijah with his tablet, Amara with her book, existing in the same space without needing to fill it with words. At some point, she looked up and found him watching her. What? She asked. You hum when you read. Did you know that? I do not. You do. Soft. Like you're agreeing with the book. That's embarrassing. It's endearing. The word hung between them, fragile and important. Elijah, Amara said softly. I know. This is getting complicated. Is that bad? I don't know. Ask me again in a year when our arrangement ends. What if I don't want it to end? He set down his tablet. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe this arrangement could become something else. Something real. It's already real. We signed papers. You know what I mean. He stood, pacing to the window. Amara, I don't know how to do real. Not the way you mean. I know contracts and code and logic. I don't know feelings and relationships and all the messy human things you're so good at. She joined him at the window. Outside, stars scattered across the clear night sky. Then learn, she said simply. Like you learned to make coffee. Like you learned to chop vegetables. You're brilliant, Elijah. You can figure this out too. What if I can't? What if you can? He turned to face her, something vulnerable and desperate in his expression. What if I try and fail? What if I hurt you or push you away or revert to being the isolated person I was before? Then we figure it out. Together. She took his hand again, more confidently this time. I'm not asking for perfect. I'm just asking for honest. I can do honest. Then be honest now. Do you want this? Whatever this is becoming. Elijah looked at their joined hands, at the woman who'd brought light into his carefully darkened world, who saw past his walls and waited patiently for him to open the gates. Yes, he said quietly. I want this. It terrifies me, but I want it. Amara smiled, brilliant and certain. Good. Because I want it too. They stood there, hands linked, not quite ready for more but acknowledging that more was coming. That their arrangement had shifted into something neither had planned but both were starting to hope for. Outside, the stars watched. Inside, two lonely people began to believe that maybe, just maybe, they didn't have to be lonely anymore. The invitation arrived on thick, expensive cardstock. Crow Technologies annual board dinner. Attendance required. Plus guest. Elijah set it on the kitchen counter with a sigh. Amara picked it up, reading. This weekend? She asked. Yes. It's mandatory. Dog and pony show for investors. He poured coffee, his movements tense. You don't have to go. I'm your wife. Of course I'm going. It'll be boring. Rich people talking about money. Sounds delightful. He glanced at her, catching the teasing tone. You're making fun of me. A little. She smiled. Elijah, this is part of our arrangement, remember? Public appearances. I knew what I signed up for. This is different. These people are. He stopped, choosing words carefully. They're sharks. They'll judge you, assess you, try to figure out what you want from me. Let them try. Amara. She set down the invitation and took his hand, a gesture that had become natural between them over the past few weeks. I can handle rich people. I've handled worse. Trust me. I do trust you. That's not the issue. Then what is? He looked at their joined hands. I don't want them to make you feel small. You're worth more than all of them combined, but they won't see that. They'll see a nurse who married for money. Because that's partially true. It's not the whole truth. No, Amara agreed softly. It's not. The dress arrived Thursday. Amara opened the box to find emerald green silk, elegant and simple, with a note in Elijah's handwriting. Thought this might work. Return it if you hate it. She tried it on and it fit perfectly. The green made her skin glow, her dark eyes stand out. She looked sophisticated and confident and exactly like someone who could stand beside a billionaire. When she came downstairs that evening, Elijah was in the kitchen. He turned, saw her and went completely still. You look, he started then stopped. Is it okay? You look beautiful. Amara felt heat rise to her cheeks. Thank you. For the dress. You didn't have to. I wanted you to feel confident. I always feel confident. But I appreciate the thought. Saturday evening arrived too quickly. Amara dressed carefully, adding simple gold jewelry her mother had left her. In the mirror she looked like someone she barely recognized. Polished, elegant, ready. Elijah appeared in a midnight blue suit that made him look less like a reclusive programmer and more like the powerful CEO he actually was. His hair was styled, his expression composed, but she could see tension in his shoulders. Ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. The venue was a private dining room in Seattle's most exclusive hotel. Crystal chandeliers, white tablecloths, staff in formal attire. Exactly the kind of place that usually made Amara feel out of place. But tonight, with Elijah's hand steady at the small of her back, she walked in with her head high. Heads turned. Conversations paused. Amara felt the assessment, the curiosity, the judgment. Mr. Crow, a silver-haired man approached, hand extended. Good to see you out and about. And this must be the wife we've heard so much about. Amara Bennett, she said, shaking his hand firmly. Nice to meet you. James Patterson, board chairman. His eyes were sharp but not unkind. I must say, Elijah, you've surprised us all. I occasionally do that, Elijah said dryly. Patterson laughed. Indeed. Mrs. Crow, what do you do? I'm an emergency room nurse. Ah, noble work. Necessary work, Amara corrected gently. Someone has to patch people up when they do stupid things. Patterson's eyebrows rose, then he laughed again. I like her, Elijah. She's direct. That's one word for it, Elijah murmured. They moved through the crowd, Elijah introducing Amara to board members and major investors. She shook hands, made small talk, answered questions with honest simplicity that seemed to both charm and confuse people expecting calculated responses. A woman in designer everything approached, all sharp angles and sharper smile. Amara, is it? How fascinating that Elijah finally emerged from his cave. Tell me, how did you two meet? Through work, Amara said simply. What kind of work? The complicated kind. The woman's smile tightened. Elijah's hand pressed more firmly against Amara's back, supportive. Another board member, younger and clearly trying too hard, joined them. Mrs. Crow, you must be thrilled with all this. He gestured vaguely at the room, the wealth, the excess. Thrilled with what specifically? Amara asked. Well, the lifestyle. The opportunities. I'm thrilled my brother is healthy. The rest is just circumstances. He blinked, confused. Elijah's mouth twitched toward a smile. Dinner was formal and long. Amara found herself seated between Patterson and a tech investor named Gloria Chen, both of whom proved surprisingly genuine once past their corporate exteriors. You're not what I expected, Patterson said during the second course. What did you expect? Someone more polished, practiced. Sorry to disappoint. You haven't. Quite the opposite. He glanced at Elijah, who was in deep conversation with another board member. I've known Elijah since he founded this company. Brilliant mind but isolated. Unreachable. Tonight he looks almost human. He is human. He's just been practicing being a fortress. And you're the battering ram? Amara laughed. I prefer to think of myself as a patient gardener. Fortresses are tiring. Gardens are nicer. Patterson studied her thoughtfully. He's lucky to have you. We're lucky to have each other. Later, during coffee and dessert, Gloria leaned over. Can I ask you something personal? You can ask. I might not answer. Fair. Is this real? You and Elijah? Amara considered the question carefully. It's becoming real. We started from an unusual place, but what we're building now is genuine. Good. He deserves genuine. Gloria smiled. And honestly, so do you. Half the people here married for business or status or boredom. If you're finding actual connection, hold on to it. I plan to. The evening wound down. Amara was exhausted from smiling and small talk, but she'd survived. More than survived. She'd held her own. In the car heading home, Elijah was quiet. "You okay?" Amara asked. "You were incredible tonight. I just talked to people. You charmed board members who haven't smiled in decades. Patterson pulled me aside to say you're the best thing that's happened to this company." "That's dramatic. That's accurate." He reached across the seat and took her hand. "Thank you. For coming. For being yourself. For making them see that maybe I'm not completely hopeless. You were never hopeless. Just lonely. Same thing sometimes." They drove in comfortable silence, hands linked. At home, Amara kicked off her heels with relief while Elijah loosened his tie. "Want tea?" she asked. "Please." In the kitchen, they moved through the familiar routine of late-night tea and conversation. Amara perched on the counter while Elijah leaned against the island. "Patterson said something interesting," Amara mentioned. "What?" "That you look almost human these days." Elijah winced. "Ouch." "He meant it as a compliment. Said he's never seen you this engaged with life." "That's because of you. That's because of us. We're doing this together, remember?" He moved closer, standing between her knees, not quite touching but near. "I don't know how you did this." "Did what?" "Made me want to be part of the world again. Made isolation feel lonely instead of safe." Amara cupped his face gently. "You did that yourself. I just showed up and refused to let you hide. That's a terrible strategy." "It worked." He smiled, real and unguarded. Then, slowly, carefully, he leaned forward and rested his forehead against hers. "Is this okay?" he whispered. "This is perfect." They stayed like that, breathing the same air, existing in the same space, not kissing but closer than they'd ever been. "Amara?" "Yeah. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we made this arrangement. I'm glad you refused to let me stay in my fortress." "Me too." Eventually they pulled apart, the moment too fragile to push further. But something had shifted again. Another wall down. Another step toward whatever they were becoming. That night, Amara lay in bed thinking about Elijah's face when he'd called her beautiful. About his hands steady at her back all evening. About his forehead against hers in the quiet kitchen. Their arrangement had 6 months left. She was starting to hope it would never end. The call came on a Tuesday morning while Amara was finishing her shift. Tyler's doctor, voice bright with news she'd been hoping to hear. "The latest scans are clear. All markers are normal. Amara, your brother is in remission." She had to sit down. Right there in the hospital hallway, she just sat on the floor and cried. Happy tears, relieved tears, grateful tears. When she got home, Elijah was working in his office. She knocked and entered without waiting, and the moment he saw her face he stood. "What happened?" "Tyler's in remission. He's clear. He's going to be okay." Elijah's expression transformed, something like joy breaking through his careful control. "That's incredible. They want to keep monitoring, but he can leave the clinic next week. He can come home." She laughed, wiping her eyes. "He can come home, Elijah." Without thinking, she crossed the room and hugged him. Elijah went rigid with surprise, then slowly, carefully, his arms came around her, holding her while she cried against his shoulder. "Thank you," she said into his shirt. "Thank you for making this possible. I'm happy for you. For both of you." She pulled back, looking up at him. "He wants to stay here during recovery. Is that okay? Just for a few weeks until he's stronger?" "Of course. This is your home too. Our arrangement didn't include housing a teenager. Our arrangement has evolved significantly from its original terms." He smiled slightly. "Besides, I like Tyler. You met him once. He's smart and direct. I appreciate that." Tyler arrived the following Saturday, thin but grinning, carrying a backpack and boundless enthusiasm. Amara watched Elijah's expression when her brother bounced into the mansion, all energy and questions. "This place is huge," Tyler said, spinning around. "Mayor said it was big, but this is like movie mansion big." "It's adequate," Elijah replied. "It's crazy. Can I see everything?" "Tyler," Amara warned. "Elijah has work." "Actually," Elijah said slowly, "I could take a break. Show you around." Amara blinked in surprise. Elijah offering to spend time with people was unprecedented. But he led Tyler through the house, patiently answering questions about the architecture, the technology, the purpose of various rooms. Tyler's designated room was next to Amara's, decorated in blues and grays. The bed was already made, fresh flowers on the desk, a welcome basket with snacks and books. "You did this?" Tyler asked Elijah. I had help. But yes. This is the nicest room I've ever had. Tyler set down his backpack carefully. Thank you. Really. For everything. You're welcome. Can I ask you something? Okay. Are you and Mare actually married, or is this like a business thing she told me about? Elijah glanced at Amara, who was watching from the doorway. It started as business. It's becoming something else. Good. She deserves something good. Tyler flopped onto the bed. And you seem okay. Weird, but okay. I'll take that as a compliment. You should. That evening they had dinner together in the actual dining room, all three of them. Tyler filled the silence with stories from the clinic, observations about the mansion, questions about Elijah's work. So you basically protect people's data from hackers? Tyler asked. Essentially, yes. That's cool. I want to do that. Computer stuff. Coding. He gestured with his fork. Mare said you started your company young. 22. How did you know you were good enough? Elijah considered the question. I didn't. I just knew I was willing to work harder than anyone else. That's what Mare always says. About nursing. That caring isn't enough, you have to show up and do the work. Your sister is smart. She's bossy. That too, Elijah agreed, and Amara laughed. After dinner, Tyler wanted to see Elijah's office. Amara expected resistance, but Elijah agreed, leading them to his private wing. The office was exactly as Amara remembered, minimal, functional, focused. But Tyler saw it differently. Wow, he breathed, taking in the multiple monitors, the clean code on screens, the complexity. This is incredible. It's work. It's art. Look at this. Tyler moved closer to a screen showing security software architecture. This is beautiful. The way it's structured. Elijah's expression softened. You see that? Of course. It's elegant. Efficient. Tyler glanced back. Could you teach me? Not now, I know you're busy. But sometime? Amara watched Elijah process the request. This was vulnerability, allowing someone into his workspace, sharing his knowledge, building connection. Yes, Elijah said finally. I could teach you. Tyler's grin was brilliant. That would be amazing. Over the following days, a routine developed. Amara worked her shifts, came home to find Elijah and Tyler in the office together, Tyler asking endless questions while Elijah patiently explained concepts. She'd pause in the doorway watching them, her heart full. The lonely billionaire and the curious teenager, building something that looked surprisingly like mentorship. Like family. One evening, she found them in the kitchen, Elijah teaching Tyler to make coffee properly. It's not just about the beans, Elijah was saying. Water temperature matters. Timing. Precision. You sound like Mare when she's teaching me to cook. Your sister values doing things right. So do you. I suppose. Amara cleared her throat. They turned almost comically guilty. Are you corrupting my brother with coffee? She asked. I'm 16, Tyler protested. Coffee is basically required. He drinks it already, Elijah added. I'm just teaching him to drink good coffee. You're both ridiculous. But she was smiling and they knew it. That weekend, Tyler felt strong enough for a short walk. The three of them explored the grounds, Tyler marveling at the forest paths, the garden spaces, the sheer amount of land. You could build anything here, he said. Like a basketball court. Or a treehouse. Or both. A treehouse. Elijah looked skeptical. You were never a kid? Not really. Tyler stopped walking. That's sad. That's reality. Reality can be changed. Tyler looked at Amara. Right, Mare? You're always saying people can change if they want to. I am always saying that, Amara agreed. Then Elijah can learn to be a kid. We can build a treehouse. I don't build treehouses. I build software. Same concept. Just different materials. Elijah looked at Amara helplessly. She grinned. He has a point. I'm being ganged up on. You're being included, Amara corrected. There's a difference. They didn't build a treehouse that day. But they walked through the forest together, Tyler pointing out potential building sites, Elijah half protesting and half planning, Amara watching the two most important people in her life become important to each other. That night, after Tyler went to bed early, tired from the walk, Amara and Elijah sat in the living room. He's good for you, Amara said. He's exhausting. That too. But good. Elijah smiled. He reminds me of you. That relentless optimism. We've had to be optimistic. The alternative is giving up. I gave up. For 5 years. And then you let me in. Let Tyler in. started trying again. She moved to sit beside him on the couch. That's not giving up. That's the opposite. He took her hand, the gesture automatic now. I don't know what I'm doing. With him. With you. With any of this. None of us do. We're just trying our best. What if my best isn't good enough? Your best is teaching a sick teenager coding. Making him coffee. Walking through the forest looking at treehouse spots. That seems pretty good to me. Elijah leaned his head back against the couch. He called this home earlier. Did you hear that? I heard. No one's called this place home in years. Maybe it's becoming one. He turned to look at her, something vulnerable in his expression. Because of you. Because you brought warmth and noise and life into these empty rooms. Because of us. We're doing this together. Later, lying in bed, Amara thought about the past month. About Elijah emerging from isolation, learning to connect, building something real with her and Tyler. About Tyler healing in more ways than physical, finding a mentor and friend in the most unexpected place. About how this arrangement that was supposed to be temporary and transactional had become the realest thing in her life. Her phone buzzed. A text from Elijah. Thank you for bringing Tyler here. The house is better with both of you in it. She smiled, typing back. The house was always waiting for life. We just showed up. His response came quickly. I'm glad you did. Amara set down her phone and pulled the covers up, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Security. Oh. The possibility that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. Down the hall, Tyler slept peacefully, his body healing, his future bright. One floor below, Elijah sat in his office, staring at code he couldn't focus on, thinking about the laughter that now filled his house, the people who had become essential when he'd sworn he needed no one. And somewhere between intention and accident, calculation and feeling, isolation and connection, 3 lonely people had found their way to becoming family. The storm rolled in on a Thursday evening, unexpected and fierce. Amara was home between shifts, reading in the living room when the first crack of thunder shook the windows. Rain followed immediately, pounding against glass, turning the world outside gray and violent. The power flickered once, twice, then died completely. Wonderful, Amara muttered, setting down her book in the sudden darkness. She used her phone light to find candles in the kitchen, lighting them and placing them around the main rooms. The house transformed in candlelight, shadows dancing on walls, everything softer and more intimate. Tyler appeared from upstairs. Power's out. I noticed. Where's Elijah? Office probably. Should we check on him? They found Elijah in his office, surrounded by dark monitors, looking frustrated. Generator should kick in soon, he said without preamble. Or we could take a break, Amara suggested. Come downstairs. Enjoy the forced vacation from screens. I have work. You always have work. Tonight you have a power outage. She held out her hand. Come on. He hesitated, then took her hand, letting her lead him downstairs. They gathered in the living room, candles providing warm, flickering light. Tyler claimed the armchair while Amara and Elijah shared the couch. Rain continued its assault outside, wind rattling windows. This is kind of cool, Tyler said. Like camping but with better furniture. Camping involves being outside, Elijah pointed out. Indoor camping then. Amara laughed. We should tell stories. That's what you do when the power's out. What kind of stories? Tyler asked. Any kind. Real stories. About ourselves. Tyler went first, telling about the time he and Amara tried to fix their broken refrigerator with YouTube videos and ended up flooding their apartment. Amara contributed the story of her first day as a nurse when she accidentally called a doctor by the wrong name for an entire shift. Then they both looked at Elijah. I don't have stories, he said. Everyone has stories, Amara countered gently. Mine aren't fun. They don't have to be fun. They just have to be real. He was quiet for a long moment, candlelight playing across his features. Outside, thunder rumbled, more distant now but still present. My parents had me when they were young, Elijah said finally. Too young probably. They resented it. Or they resented me. I was never sure which. Tyler leaned forward. Amara took Elijah's hand. They weren't cruel. Just absent. Emotionally, I mean. They provided everything material but nothing that mattered. He stared at the candle flame. I learned early that feelings were liabilities. That caring made you weak. So I stopped caring. Focused on things I could control. Code, logic, systems. That's lonely, Amara said quietly. That's safe. Or I thought it was. He glanced at her. When I started the company, I had a business partner. My best friend from college, or who I thought was my best friend. We built everything together. Then he tried to steal the company, sell my code to competitors. Took me to court, told lies, turned people against me. What happened? Tyler asked. I won. Technically. Kept the company, proved my ownership. But I lost faith in people. If someone I trusted completely could betray me that deeply, anyone could. So you isolated yourself, Amara said. So I protected myself. No partners. No close relationships. No vulnerability. He looked at their joined hands. It worked. For 5 years it worked perfectly. Until us, Tyler said. Until you. The rain softened to a steady patter. Candlelight continued its gentle dance. Amara squeezed Elijah's hand, grateful he'd shared, understanding better the walls he'd built. My turn for a real story, she said. Not a funny one. Both men looked at her. Our parents died when Tyler was 8. Car accident. Quick and sudden and completely unfair. She felt old grief, duller now but still present. I was 21 in nursing school, completely unprepared to raise a child. But there was no one else. Just me. Mare gave up everything, Tyler said quietly. I didn't give up anything that mattered. You mattered more. She smiled at her brother. But it was hard. Really hard. I had to drop out for a semester, work 3 jobs, fight the state to keep custody. I was terrified constantly that I'd mess up, that you'd end up in foster care, that I couldn't do it. But you did, Elijah said. We did. Together. She looked at Tyler. You made it easy to keep fighting. Even when I was exhausted, even when the bills were overwhelming, you were there being brave and hopeful and good. I wasn't that good. I complained constantly. You were 8 and had lost everything. Complaining was reasonable. Tyler's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I never said thank you enough. For raising me, for fighting for me, for never giving up even when it would have been easier. You say thank you every time you're kind to someone, every time you work hard, every time you choose hope over cynicism. Amara's voice caught. You turned out amazing, Ty. That's all the thanks I need. Elijah watched them, this sibling bond forged in loss and maintained through love. This, he said. This is what I didn't understand. That vulnerability isn't weakness. That letting people in isn't giving them power to hurt you. It's giving them the chance to make life worth living. You're learning, Amara said. Because you taught me. Both of you. He looked between them. I spent 5 years thinking loneliness was strength. But strength is sitting in a powerless house with people who matter, telling truths that hurt and choosing to stay anyway. Thunder cracked closer now. The storm had circled back, rain intensifying again. But inside, warmed by candlelight and honesty, 3 people sat together in comfortable silence. Can I say something? Tyler asked eventually. Of course, Amara said. When I was sick, really sick, I used to imagine what would happen after. If I survived, what kind of life I'd have. I imagined Mare finally getting a break, not having to work so hard. I imagined having a real home instead of tiny apartments. I imagined feeling safe. He looked around the candlelit room. This is better than anything I imagined. You two together, this house, this weird little family we're building. It's perfect. Amara felt tears slip down her cheeks. Ty. I mean it. Elijah, I know you and Mare started this as business. But it's not business anymore. You care about each other. I see it in how you look at her, how she talks about you. And I'm just saying, don't waste it. Don't let the arrangement end when there's something real here. Tyler, Elijah started. I'm not done. Mare spent her whole adult life taking care of me. She deserves someone who takes care of her. Someone who sees how incredible she is. And you do. I can tell you do. So when the contract ends, don't let her go. Okay. The silence that followed was thick with emotion and unspoken things. Amara stared at her brother, this wise beyond his years teenager who saw through every defense they'd constructed. Okay, Elijah said finally, his voice rough. I won't. Tyler nodded, satisfied. Good. Now can we play cards or something? This emotional honesty is exhausting. Amara laughed through tears. Cards? Yes. I'll find some. While she rummaged in the hall closet, Elijah and Tyler moved the coffee table closer to the couch, creating a space to play. By the time she returned with cards, they'd arranged candles for light and pillows for comfort. They played rummy and go fish and games Tyler made up on the spot. They laughed and argued over rules and told more stories, lighter ones now. The storm continued outside, but inside they were warm and dry and together. At some point Tyler dozed off in the armchair. Amara covered him with a blanket while Elijah extinguished most of the candles, leaving just enough light to see by. "We should let him sleep," Amara whispered. They moved to the kitchen, where rain drummed against windows and darkness pressed close. Elijah made tea by candlelight while Amara sat on the counter, watching. "Thank you for sharing tonight," she said. "About your past, your parents and your partner. I know that wasn't easy. It was necessary." He handed her tea. "Tyler's right. This isn't business anymore. It's real. And if it's real, you deserve to know who I actually am. Not just the fortress I built, but the person underneath who built it. I see that person. I've always seen him." "How?" "The same way you see me. By paying attention. By choosing to look past the walls." She set down her tea and took his hands. "Elijah, what Tyler said. About not letting go when the contract ends. Did you mean it?" "Yes." "Because you feel obligated or because you want to?" He moved closer, standing between her knees like he had after the board dinner. "Because the thought of you leaving, of going back to the way things were before, makes me feel like I can't breathe. Because you've become essential to my life in ways I didn't know were possible. Because I'm falling in love with you and I don't know how to stop." Amara's breath caught. "Elijah. I know it's complicated. I know I'm not good at this. I know I'll probably mess up constantly. But if you're willing to risk it, to try building something real beyond the contract, I want that. I want you. Not as an arrangement. As a choice." She cupped his face, thumbs brushing his cheekbones. "I'm already in love with you. I've been for weeks. Maybe longer. I was just waiting for you to catch up." He laughed, surprised and delighted. "You're always ahead of me. That's because you overthink everything." "That's fair." They leaned into each other, foreheads touching, breathing the same air. Outside, the storm began to ease. Inside, two people who'd started as strangers acknowledged what had been growing between them all along. "So what now?" Elijah asked. "Now we finish our tea. Check on Tyler. And tomorrow we start figuring out what real looks like." "That simple? That complicated? But we'll figure it out together." The power came back on suddenly, lights blazing. They both blinked in the sudden brightness, then laughed. "Well," Amara said, "I guess the universe thinks we've had enough candlelight intimacy. The universe has terrible timing." They cleaned up the kitchen together, moving in comfortable synchronization. Upstairs, they checked on Tyler, still asleep in the armchair, peaceful and healing. Before going to their separate rooms, they paused in the hallway. "Good night, Amara." "Good night, Elijah." He kissed her forehead gently, a promise of more to come. Then they parted, going to their own spaces but carrying the weight of confessions made, feelings acknowledged, futures considered. Amara lay in bed, heart full, mind spinning. Everything had changed. Everything had stayed the same. They loved each other. They were choosing each other. The contract had 6 months left, but it didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the life they were building. The family they'd become. The hope they'd found in the middle of storms and darkness. Outside, rain finally stopped. Stars emerged, bright against the clearing sky. Inside, 3 people who'd all been lonely in different ways settled into sleep, knowing tomorrow would bring new complications, new conversations, new chances to choose each other. And that was enough. More than enough. That was everything. Morning came bright and clean after the storm. Amara woke to sunshine and the smell of coffee, signs that life was returning to normal. Except nothing was normal anymore. Everything had shifted in candlelight and confession. She dressed in comfortable jeans and a soft maroon sweater, took a breath for courage and went downstairs. Elijah was in the kitchen making breakfast. Actually cooking, not just preparing coffee. Tyler sat at the island, scrolling through his phone, looking rested. "She lives," Tyler announced when Amara appeared. "What time is it?" "Almost 10. You slept hard. Power outages are exhausting." She moved to the coffee pot, very aware of Elijah's presence, his movements, the new knowledge between them. "I'm making pancakes," Elijah said. "Or attempting to." "You cook now." Tyler suggested I should learn basic survival skills. "Cooking is not survival," Tyler protested. "It's art. It's sustenance," Elijah corrected, flipping a slightly misshapen pancake. Amara watched them banter, her heart warm. This was what family looked like. Comfortable teasing, shared space, cooperation. Breakfast was chaotic and perfect. Elijah's pancakes were edible if not pretty. Tyler critiqued the technique while Amara added fruit and syrup to make everything better. They ate together, talking about nothing important, just existing in each other's company. After Tyler went upstairs to shower, Amara and Elijah cleaned the kitchen in silence. Not uncomfortable silence, but loaded silence. full of things unsaid since last night. So, Amara said finally, drying a plate. So, Elijah echoed. Last night was intense. Yes. Do you regret it? What you said? He turned to face her fully. No. Do you? Not even a little. She set down the dish towel. But we should probably talk about what happens next. Agreed. Walk with me. They went outside into the forest behind the house, following paths through still wet undergrowth. Everything smelled clean and green, washed new by the storm. I've been thinking, Elijah said as they walked. The contract has 6 months left. But I don't want to wait 6 months to start our actual relationship. What are you suggesting? Dating. Actually dating. Even though we're technically already married. Mara laughed. That's very practical and very you. Is it too weird? It's perfect. She took his hand as they walked. We did everything backwards. Marriage before dating, contract before feelings. Might as well keep the theme going. They emerged into a small clearing where morning sun broke through trees. Elijah stopped, pulling her around to face him. I want to do this right, he said seriously. Take you places, spend time together, learn everything about you not related to survival or necessity. I want to choose you every day not because of a contract, but because I can't imagine choosing anyone else. Elijah Crow, are you asking me on a date? Many dates. Starting today if you'll agree. I have a shift tonight. Then starting after your shift. Tomorrow. Whenever you're free. Amara smiled, rising on her toes to kiss his cheek. Yes. To all of it. Yes. His expression transformed, joy breaking through in a way she'd never seen. He pulled her into a proper embrace, arms tight around her, face buried in her hair. I don't know how to do this, he murmured. I'll probably mess up constantly. Then you mess up and we figure it out. That's how relationships work. That sounds terrifying. It is. It's also wonderful. They stood there holding each other in the forest clearing, sun warming their backs, future uncertain but chosen. Over the following weeks they dated. Elijah took Amara to quiet museums and small restaurants. She brought him to community events and local parks. They went to movies and concerts and farmers markets, learning each other's preferences, building shared experiences. Tyler watched with barely concealed delight, offering commentary and unsolicited advice. You should hold her hand more, he told Elijah one evening. We hold hands. In public. Show people she's yours. She's not mine. She's her own person who chooses to spend time with me. Wow. That's actually really enlightened. But still hold her hand. Amara came home from shifts to find flowers and notes. Elijah started leaving work at reasonable hours to have dinner with her and Tyler. They cooked together, watched movies, talked for hours about everything and nothing. One Saturday, Elijah surprised them both. I have an idea, he announced over breakfast. Dangerous, Tyler said. I want to show you something. Both of you. Get dressed for being outdoors. An hour later, they stood in the forest clearing where Elijah had asked Amara to date him. Except now there were building materials stacked neatly, plans laid out, tools organized. Are we building a treehouse? Tyler asked, voice filled with wonder. We're building a treehouse, Elijah confirmed. If you still want to. Tyler's whoop of excitement startled birds from nearby trees. He ran to examine materials already planning. Amara moved to stand beside Elijah. You're building a treehouse. Technically we're all building it. I just bought supplies. You hate projects like this. I hate being lonely. I like making Tyler happy. And I like spending time with you doing something that isn't work or obligation. She kissed him properly then, right there in the clearing, Tyler whooping again in the background. They spent weekends building. Elijah applied his systematic mind to construction. Tyler provided enthusiasm and creativity. Amara offered practical problem-solving when their ambitious plans exceeded their carpentry skills. It was messy and chaotic and nothing like Elijah's usual controlled environment. It was perfect. One afternoon, after hours of work, they sat in the partially completed treehouse, dangling their legs over the edge. This is insane, Elijah said, looking at his hands rough and dirty from honest labor. This is fun, Amara corrected. I'm not sure I know the difference. You're learning. Tyler had climbed down to get water, leaving them alone. Elijah took Amara's hand, examining it thoughtfully. Can I tell you something? He asked. Always. I'm happy. Like genuinely, consistently happy. I can't remember the last time I felt this way. Maybe never. Amara leaned against his shoulder. Me too. Even with all the complications? The fact that we started this as a transaction? The weirdness of dating someone you're already married to. Especially because of all that. We built something real from something artificial. That's pretty incredible. Below, Tyler called up that he'd found snacks. They climbed down, joining him for impromptu picnic on the forest floor. That evening, back at the house, Tyler cornered Amara while Elijah was showering. You guys are really happy, he observed. We are. Like long-term happy? Not just honeymoon phase happy. I think so. Why? Tyler fidgeted with his phone. Because I'm going back to school next month. Outpatient monitoring only. I'll need to move back into our apartment. Amara's heart sank. She'd known this was coming, but knowing didn't make it easier. That's great, Ty. You're healthy enough for normal life again. But what about you? The contract doesn't end for months. Will you stay here or come home? I don't know. Elijah and I haven't talked about it. You should talk about it. Because Mare, I love that you're happy. But I also know you. You'd give up your happiness to take care of me without even thinking about it. Taking care of you is my happiness. It's part of your happiness. But it's not all of it. Not anymore. Tyler took her hands. I'm 16, healthy, capable. I can handle being alone in the apartment for a few months. You should stay here. With Elijah. Figure out your life without worrying about me constantly. Tyler. I mean it. You gave up years for me. Let me give you this. Time to build your own happiness without guilt or obligation. Amara pulled him into a hug, crying quiet tears. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. That night, Amara knocked on Elijah's office door. He looked up from his work, smiled, and closed his laptop. What's wrong? He asked, reading her expression. Tyler's going back to school next month. Moving back to our old apartment. Understanding crossed Elijah's face. And you're wondering what that means for us. The contract says I live here for a year. But with Tyler gone, the original reason for our arrangement is resolved. The original reason, yes. He stood, moving around his desk to stand in front of her. But we have new reasons now. Better reasons. Do we? Amara. He took her hands. I don't want you here because of a contract. I want you here because this is your home. Because we're building a life together. Because I love you and I want to wake up knowing you're nearby. But the contract? Forget the contract. Stay because you want to. Leave if you don't. But please want to. She looked up at him, this man who'd learned to hope and connect and risk his heart. I want to stay. But what about when the year ends? What happens then? Then we tear up the contract and write a new one. Not based on money or obligation but on choice. On partnership. On love. What would that contract look like? Elijah smiled, pulling her close. I'm not sure. But I think it might look like forever. Amara kissed him, deep and certain, answering without words. When they pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. Forever sounds good, she whispered. Terrifying but good. Everything good is terrifying. That's probably true. They stood there, holding each other, future uncertain but chosen, love real and growing, contract fading into irrelevance. Outside, stars wheeled overhead. Inside, two people who'd started as strangers acknowledged what they'd known for weeks. This was real. This was permanent. This was home. Tyler moved back to the apartment on a crisp October morning. Amara helped him pack, fighting tears the whole time. I'm 20 minutes away, he reminded her for the 10th time. You can visit whenever. I know. I'm being ridiculous. You're being Mare. It's fine. He zipped his last bag and turned to face her. Are you happy? Really happy? I am. Then stop feeling guilty. You deserve this. You and Elijah, whatever you're building, it's good. Hold on to it. Elijah drove them to the apartment, helped Tyler carry boxes upstairs, made sure the security system worked, checked the locks twice. I'm not a billionaire, Tyler said, amused. This neighborhood is safe enough. Humor me. You care. I get it. Tyler grinned. Thanks for everything. For the treehouse. The coding lessons. For making my sister happy. She makes me happy too. Good. Keep it that way. On the drive back to the mansion, Amara was quiet. Elijah reached across and took her hand. He'll be fine, he said. I know. This is just the first time I've been separated from him since our parents died. It feels strange. Would you feel better if we visited him next weekend? Yes. Actually, yes. Then we will. The house felt different with just the two of them. Quieter but not lonely. They developed new routines just for them. Morning coffee together before Elijah started work. Evening walks through the forest. Cooking dinner as a team rather than necessity. 2 weeks after Tyler left, Elijah came home early from the office with an announcement. "I did something," he said. "That sounds ominous. I established a foundation. Medical assistance for families who can't afford treatment. Tyler's Foundation." He showed her the paperwork, official and real. "I want to help other people the way we help Tyler. Make sure money isn't the barrier between life and death." Amara read through the documents, tears streaming down her face. "Elijah, this is incredible. You inspired it. You and Tyler. The way you fought for him, the way you never gave up even when it seemed impossible. Other families deserve that chance." She kissed him, pouring every ounce of love and gratitude into it. When they pulled apart, she was smiling through tears. "You're extraordinary, you know that? I'm practical. And I have resources. Might as well use them for something meaningful. Stop deflecting. Accept the compliment. That's difficult for me. Practice." He smiled, tucking hair behind her ear. "Okay. Thank you. I'm trying to be worthy of you. You already are." They spent that evening planning the foundation structure. Amara's medical knowledge combined with Elijah's business acumen created something powerful and efficient. They worked side by side, building something that mattered. At midnight, surrounded by papers and half-drunk coffee, Amara looked at Elijah and felt overwhelming certainty. "I love you," she said. He looked up, surprised. They'd said it before, but this felt different. More definitive. "I love you too." "No, I mean I'm in love with you. Completely. The kind of love that means I want to build a life with you beyond contracts and arrangements. The kind that means forever." Elijah set down his pen carefully. "Amara Bennett, are you proposing to me? We're already married. Technically. But you're asking for real. For choice." "I am. Is that okay?" He moved around the table and pulled her to her feet. "It's more than okay. It's everything I've been wanting to ask but didn't know how. So is that a yes?" "That's a yes. To all of it. To forever." They kissed in the warm kitchen light, surrounded by plans to help people, wrapped in certainty that they'd found something rare and real. The following month they told Tyler their plans. He hooped so loud their neighbors probably heard. "I knew it," he crowed over video chat. "I called this months ago." "You're very smug," Amara said. "I'm very right. There's a difference." "Are you coming to the vow renewal?" Elijah asked. "Obviously. I'm walking Mare down the aisle. That's non-negotiable." They planned a small ceremony in the mansion's garden. Just family and close friends. Nothing extravagant, nothing performed. Just honest promises between two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way. Amara's best friend Nadia flew in from across the country. "I can't believe this worked out," she said, helping Amara into her dress. "Deep blue this time, simple and elegant." "Neither can I sometimes." "You're happy though. Really happy." "I am." "Then I'm happy for you. Even if you did marry a stranger for money and somehow turned it into true love. That's very you, Mare. Very optimistic and impossible and wonderful." The ceremony was everything it should be. Warm autumn afternoon, garden transformed with flowers and soft lighting, a small gathering of people who mattered. Tyler walked Amara down the makeshift aisle, pride evident in every step. Elijah waited in a perfectly tailored navy suit, his expression open and certain in a way that would have been impossible a year ago. The vows they'd written together were simple and honest. "I promise to choose you every day," Amara said. "To bring warmth when you retreat into cold logic. To remind you that feelings aren't weaknesses, they're strengths. To build a life with you based on partnership, honesty, and hope." "I promise to let you in," Elijah responded. "To practice vulnerability even when it's terrifying. To remember that isolation isn't safety, connection is. To love you completely, messily, imperfectly, but always honestly." They exchanged new rings, chose each other without contract or obligation, promised forever with certainty. When the officiant said they could kiss, Elijah pulled Amara close. "Hello, wife," he whispered. "For real this time." "Hello, husband. I choose you." "I choose you too." The reception was small and joyful. Tyler gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry. Nadia contributed embarrassing stories about Amara's nursing school days. Patterson, who Elijah had invited, spoke about transformation and the power of genuine connection. Late in the evening, Amara and Elijah slipped away to their unfinished treehouse. They climbed up, sat on the platform under emerging stars, and just existed together. "We did it," Amara said. "Built something real from something fake. Built something permanent from something temporary. Found family in isolation. Found love in a business transaction." She leaned against him. Do you ever regret it? The way we started? Never. Because it brought me here. To you. To this life I didn't know was possible. Me neither. Best arrangement I ever made. They sat in comfortable silence, watching their small gathering below, hearing laughter and music drift up through trees. Elijah? Yeah. Thank you. For taking a chance on a desperate nurse with a sick brother. Thank you for refusing to let me stay isolated. For bringing warmth and chaos and life into my carefully controlled world. We're good at this. The gratitude exchange. We're good at a lot of things together. Amara smiled, closing her eyes, feeling absolutely certain that she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The contract that had brought them together had expired weeks ago, shredded and forgotten. What remained was choice, commitment, and love built on honest foundation. Below, Tyler caught sight of them and waved. They waved back, this makeshift family that had formed against all odds. Should we go back down? Elijah asked. In a minute. Let's just sit here a little longer. Okay. And they did, wrapped in each other an autumn evening, building their forever one chosen moment at a time. 6 months after their real wedding, Amara woke in their shared bedroom, sunlight streaming through windows, Elijah still asleep beside her. She watched him for a moment, this brilliant man who'd learned to let his guard down, who smiled more, who'd built a treehouse and a foundation and a life. He stirred, sensing her attention, and opened his eyes. Morning, he murmured. Morning. Coffee? Please. They moved through morning routine with comfortable efficiency. Elijah made coffee while Amara started breakfast. Tyler was visiting for the weekend, still asleep in his room. Board meeting today, Elijah mentioned, scanning his tablet. Nervous? Not anymore. Not with you there. Amara still attended company events, but now as genuine partner rather than contractual obligation. The board had come to respect her insights, her honesty, her ability to translate Elijah's technical vision into human terms. The foundation presentation is today too, she reminded him. Right. Patterson's bringing potential donors. Tyler's foundation had grown rapidly. In 6 months they'd helped 40 families access treatment. The impact rippled outward, lives saved, hope restored. Tyler appeared, still in pajamas, hair sticking up. Is there coffee? Always, Elijah said, pouring a cup. Thanks. Hey, I've been thinking. Dangerous, Amara teased. Seriously? I want to do an internship at Crow Technologies this summer. Learn the business side of tech, not just coding. Elijah looked surprised. You'd want to work with me? Obviously. You're brilliant and you have the patience to actually teach. Plus nepotism. He grinned. I'm not above using family connections. Family, Elijah repeated softly, the word still new and precious to him. Yeah. That's what we are, right? You marry me. Weird, unconventional family, but family. Yes, Elijah agreed. That's exactly what we are. They spent breakfast planning Tyler's potential internship, discussing projects and learning opportunities. Amara watched them, her heart full, thinking about how far they'd all come. That afternoon, the board meeting went smoothly. Elijah presented quarterly results with confidence, fielded questions with ease, referenced Amara's insights naturally. This version of him, engaged and connected, bore little resemblance to the isolated man she'd met a year ago. The foundation presentation followed. Amara and Elijah stood together, sharing stories of families helped, lives changed, futures made possible. An older woman in the audience raised her hand. Mrs. Crow, what inspired this foundation? Amara glanced at Elijah, then answered honestly. My brother was dying. We had no money for treatment. I was desperate. I made an arrangement with Elijah that saved Tyler's life, and in the process, we discovered that medical care shouldn't depend on desperation or luck. It should be accessible. The foundation exists to make that possible. The arrangement, another donor asked. This was your marriage arrangement? The one that started as business? Yes, Elijah said firmly. We married initially for practical reasons. But what grew from that arrangement became the most important thing in both our lives. And we wanted to extend that chance, that hope, to others. The room was silent, then someone started clapping. It spread, becoming genuine applause. After the meeting, Patterson pulled them aside. You two are remarkable. Turning personal experience into public good. The foundation will change lives. It already has, Amara said simply. That evening they walked through their forest, checking progress on the treehouse. It was finished now, complete with windows and a small deck, Tyler's summer project brought to completion. Remember when you said you'd never build a treehouse? Amara asked. I say a lot of things that turn out to be wrong. Like what? Like that I prefer isolation. That feelings are liabilities. That I'd never let anyone close again. He stopped walking, turning to face her. You've proved me wrong about everything. Good. I have something for you. He pulled out a folder of papers. Amara opened it, reading quickly, then looked up in shock. You're putting the house in both our names? It's your home too. Has been for a year. Should be official. Elijah, this is millions of dollars of property. This is our home. Where we built our life. Where we'll keep building it. He took her hands. I don't want anything separate anymore. Not assets, not space, not future. I want everything shared, everything together. Amara kissed him, papers still clutched in one hand. I love you so much. I love you too. More than I knew was possible. They walked back to the house as sun set, painting the sky orange and pink. Tyler had already left for the apartment, giving them evening alone. In the kitchen, preparing dinner together, Amara felt profound contentment. This life they'd built, this partnership they'd forged, this love they'd found. It was everything she'd never dared to hope for. What are you thinking? Elijah asked, noticing her expression. That a year ago I was desperate and alone, signing a contract with a stranger. And now I'm here with you, building a life that's better than anything I imagined. Same. A year ago I was isolated and convinced it was the only way to be safe. Now I can't imagine going back to that emptiness. We saved each other. We did. Dinner was simple and perfect. Conversation flowed easily, mixing serious topics with teasing banter. After cleaning up, they moved to the living room, Elijah with work he'd brought home, Amara with a book. But she couldn't focus on reading. She kept watching him, this man who'd become her everything. You're staring, he said without looking up. I'm appreciating. There's a difference? Significant one. He set aside his tablet and patted the couch beside him. She moved over, curling against his side. Can I tell you something? She asked. Always. I'm thinking about going back to school. Finishing my nurse practitioner degree. That's wonderful. What changed? You. Having the stability and support to actually consider my own goals, not just survival. She looked up at him. The foundation work has shown me I want to do more. Help more people. Make bigger impact. You should do it. I'll support you however you need. It's 2 years of intensive study. I'd be distracted and busy. Then we'll be distracted and busy together. I'm good at busy. Amara laughed. That's true. They talked about logistics, programs, timing. Elijah offered to adjust his schedule, reduce travel, make space for her education. It was easy, natural, the kind of partnership she'd never had before. Later, standing at their bedroom window looking out at star-filled sky, Amara thought about the journey that had brought them here. Desperation to hope. Contract to love. Strangers to family. What are you thinking now? Elijah asked, coming to stand behind her. That I'm grateful. For Tyler getting sick in a weird way because it brought me to you. For your assistance suggesting a real marriage instead of hiring someone. For every small decision that led here. I'm grateful too. For you refusing to be intimidated by my walls. For bringing warmth and light into my isolation. For teaching me that connection is worth the risk. She turned in his arms. We're going to make it, aren't we? Long term. Forever. We already are making it. Have been since you refused to leave me alone at 2 a.m. That was good stubborn of me. Best stubborn. They stood together, wrapped in certainty and starlight, building their forever one day at a time. Across the city, Tyler lay in his apartment bedroom, healthy and hopeful, texting with friends, planning his future. He thought about his sister and Elijah, this family they'd created from necessity and choice. Tomorrow he'd visit for Sunday breakfast, their standing tradition. They'd cook together, talk about the week, plan foundation projects. Normal family things that were actually extraordinary in their normality. At the mansion, Amara and Elijah climbed into bed, comfortable in their routine. Good night, husband, Amara said. Good night, wife. I love you. I love you too. Simple words but weighted with everything they'd built. Partnership and trust. Hope and healing. Isolation ended and connection chosen. Outside the world turned. Inside, two people who'd started in the darkest place found themselves in the brightest future. The contract that had brought them together sat shredded in a file somewhere, irrelevant and forgotten. What remained was choice, every single day choosing each other, choosing hope, choosing love. And that choice, renewed daily, was what made forever possible. Tyler's foundation would grow, helping hundreds of families. Amara would finish her degree, becoming the nurse practitioner she'd always wanted to be. Elijah would continue building his company, but with balance, with connection, with purpose beyond profit. They would face challenges, have arguments, navigate difficulties. But they'd face them together with the certainty that came from choosing each other not once in desperation, but continuously in love. The treehouse stood in the forest, testament to growth and change. The mansion, once cold and empty, hummed with life and warmth. The foundation carried Tyler's name forward, turning private pain into public good. And two people who'd been profoundly lonely discovered that the opposite of loneliness isn't just company. It's partnership. It's choosing to show up every day. It's building something real from something artificial. It's hope and kindness and love leading the way. Amara fell asleep wrapped in Elijah's arms, certain and content. Elijah held her close, grateful and transformed. And somewhere in the space between isolation and connection, desperation and hope, contract and choice, they'd found forever. Their story, which began with a billionaire prepared for a cold, loveless marriage, ended with warmth, genuine love, and the certainty that sometimes the most unlikely beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings. Forever had started. And it was everything they never knew they needed.